Hello, John and Sungshim Lapnow here, answering some questions from a leader of a small group going through the book Joyful Journey, and she sent us some questions and we're going to respond to them. So we hope this adds value to your life. So the first question was about who you love as more important than what we know. And this is actually it's a very catchy statement. As far as I know, Jim Walder's the first one I heard say that. And you can kind of just see this, Sungshim will convey, you can just see this when you reflect on your own life. The people that you love, that begins to shape things that you like or things you pay attention to, or even how you treat people if that person has enough influence in your life. So, just various things that my dad is interested in, or my mom, or my friends. I pay attention to those things. It could be music, it could be TV, movies, books, learning experiences, those types of things. So, how about you, hon? What are some comments you have about that?
So who we love is more important than what we know. Absolutely. It says who we love is more important than what we know. Transform how that truth transform your own personal spiritual growth. For some reason, when I hear that phrase, I think about our beginning of our marriage. We both hold.
Because you loved me so much.
I hope that was. So maybe because of in the beginning, the bond. Even though we love each other, that was not enough.
Right.
But what I thought that I know this is good marriage, it should be. We both hold a master's in marriage and family therapy at the same time. That didn't do much to our way of relating to each other in love. But I think who we love, meaning on a human level, if I love John, obviously I will do what is good for John. So I think in my experience, when I really get to love Jesus, God, and I think he's about love.
Right.
So when I really attach myself to God who loves me, in return I love him. When we love each other, obviously that shapes my path of loving people around me. So I can definitely testify.
I just want to say, but we know God is love. Jesus says, love God, love others, right? So that's a fact. That's what we know. But somehow attaching to Jesus, then when we're attached to him, that forms us more than just a simple statement or a set of statements. Love God, love others, read your Bible, actually attach, talk to Jesus about everything. Oh, Jesus, how are you seeing Sungshim right now? How you see me? How do you see what we're talking about right now? Or parenting, or work, those types of things. So always connecting with Jesus about that. And then even one example that I like that you give is I really like to go to concerts, and I like to go see U2. But before you met me, I don't think you even knew who they were, and you don't care. But you have gone to see U2 more than even U2 fans,
right,
because of me, your love for me. So that's just a tangible example of it that has shaped your musical going experience. Probably, who have you seen more than U2? Probably nobody else.
Right.
So that's just a tangible. So are we like that with one another? Probably like that with Jesus. And even in preparation for this video, I was thinking, am I actually attaching to Jesus by even reading the Gospels and how he interacts with his his disciples, the people he's teaching and training and loving, and that he's treating the least of these, and how he's talking to religious leaders? Am I being formed by how he interacts with people and his Father? So I'm encouraged and challenged by even reflecting on this question. So thank you.
So simply speaking, do we know God up here? We know that simple concept, but do you really love him? When we hear his name, or when you hold him in your imagination, does it move your heart though? Does it move you to act in a way that you would not act? So Jim Wilder's recent book, in the book he's challenging us, love your enemy, spontaneously, he
Yeah,
said.
yeah, yeah.
Like
That's
what?
right.
Like how could I love enemy spontaneously? That's what probably the result of who we love.
Yeah,
If I think of Jesus, the person I really
yeah.
love, and then he's the one who love enemy spontaneous. If I'm attached to him, and
Yep.
then my heart is moving in a way that I want to do what he wants to do, not because I know that is true, but because I love him.
Yeah, yeah. That book, The Pandora Problem, is fantastic. So
Okay.
the next question that was presented to us, but honey, I just want to tell you, when you're talking, if you want, you just talk right there. Like imagine there's people listening.
Okay.
Good. So, how did you learn about relational circuits, and when did you first start noticing your relational circuits were turned off? So RCs, or relational circuits. As we prepared, we reflected that in 2003 we met a friend, a mentor, Edward Santana Grace, that he talked about the importance of when we're in a highly unregulated state, to calm ourselves down, to take a self timeout, to take a negotiated timeout. That's when we first learned the concept.
2003.
2003, and to really experientially we understood it back then. Then if you want to kind of comment on, we learned this terminology, RC, relational circuits.
So I think we've been noticing that in a sense that we are in a hyperarousal state. We cannot relate to each other. So we learned that concept in 2003. And then since then, I have to say, I started noticing that I'm in that state. And I think once I met Jim Wilder and his teaching, that's where I learned the concept of RC, which was so helpful because I knew that the hyperarousal, but it reveals that it's not just only individual, my physiology going into hyperarousal or hypoarousal. This RC concept is teaching us that we are meant to be in relationship with God and with one another. So when we are off from that, that's RC is off. So then when did I first start noticing? I think in 2003, and the more you notice, I have to say, the more you are aware that your RCs are off. And I think that's God's grace.
And how did it impact our marriage? Like, it was so helpful to have a common understanding.
Right.
When we were calm, we learned it. Then we could begin to notice it. And then when I teach like premarital or marital or parenting classes, if you're in close proximity of someone and in a close relationship, it could be marriage, parenting, family members, often somebody else will notice first when your RCs are off, unless you're like highly skilled over many years, because they can just tell by your facial expressions, your tone of voice, your body language, all those things. So it can be a very helpful thing, but also you can irritate each other with that knowledge. But when we began, we really believe it's better. We can accomplish more. We can build our relationship in a much better way when our relational circuits are turned on. So, and you usually begin to notice when they're off. That's the first step, and it's transformed. I'll tell you one thing about parenting, and if you want to share about marriage, when my relational circuits are off with the kids, I tell them, Dad is really upset right now. I'm going to take a walk, and I'll be back when I'm in a calmer state, in a more relational state. So I'll just go take a walk around a short block that we have here. So they know, and they don't always like it. No, don't. But I say, no, I need to calm myself down. Maybe I'll just stand in the front yard, give a little distance, a little perspective to come back so that my relational circuits are on. So that's one way that it has impacted my parenting, because I notice that I'm more present, a better dad, and actually can accomplish more, whatever that task is, like helping them with their homework, helping them reconcile, getting ready for whatever, soccer, school, if my relational circuits are on. The time is shorter. There might be a learning phase, but that's one way it has impacted my parenting.
It says how to restore connection with Jesus have basically impacted in your marriage and parenting. So, why I like RC concept is that in reality, though, you never been separated from God. You never been separated from the source of love. God is always present. God is always working on your behalf. But the moment that I don't believe that reality, or even when I'm irritated with John or with my kids, at that moment, I don't feel like I'm connected with them, or I have nothing to do with them. That is illusion. So I think even God help, I can't, it's not like a beautiful way of like just out of frustration, but God help.
Yeah.
I'm recognizing my RC is off, meaning it's nothing wrong with it. I am losing this reality. Reality is God, you are with me, and then I am actually for this person that I love, but at this moment I don't think of him as somebody who's connected with me. So when I call out God's help, and they're just like a little reminder of the reality that Sangshim, I am here with you, and I care about what you are going through. That slight change of my probably RC on state really impact. Then I start seeing John not anymore enemy, because when you are RC off, you think of John, or I think of my kids as an enemy. They are against me, or sometimes including God, like just how could you do that to me? But then when those moments, we need to be reminded that I'm not alone. I'm not in separation.
That's how connecting with Jesus has impacted.
Yeah.
Even this morning I was a little anxious about something that wasn't related directly to marriage and parenting. And then I realized if I could just, when I quiet and then connect with Jesus around appreciation memory or something just like a positive memory, that helps me just even gain perspective. I can see the world with greater reality rather than just a narrow view of like, this is like either there's a person is a problem, an obstacle, or a tool that I can use to accomplish my will. But instead, when I connect with Jesus, I can see how can we participate in God's kingdom in becoming a kind of people that love God and love others and love our enemies spontaneously. So that's something that's been very helpful with RCs. You will learn so much if you begin to notice when your RCs are off and on, and when they're off, doing whatever it takes to turn them back on is very powerful. The next question says, explain more why the left brain needs a story and how the right brain rules, and how that can cause trouble. So if we can just comment on that. And we prepared a little bit, but just wanted to kind of spontaneously give you what we thought. The left brain needs a story. The left brain kind of is logical, linear, and that's how it makes sense of the world. And the right brain is all those things that can overwhelm us and can trip us into our RCs are off. And how does it... I would say when our right brain is overwhelmed, that we begin to tell a different kind of story that may or may not be true. It's based on earlier stories that we have in our life, in our earlier life experiences, and maybe spiritual transformation, relational transformation, has to do with those stories that we had early in our life, being exposed to the light of God and the light of being with the people of God, so that our right brain begins to experience the good news of God's presence and action in our life on an ongoing basis. I know I'm talking here. I don't know if I'm answering the question. So, Annie, can you chime in while I'm talking here?
So I think since we are not interacting with you guys, it's hard to know exactly what people are asking. So I think knowing the difference between left brain and right brain it has been really helpful information and knowledge. So for example, one story is basically left brain grows or being strengthened with the information. So there's a school education, even the things that you are learning from the book Joyful Journey, or what we are saying, we are giving you information. So that's how left brain makes sense out of things, and that's how like need a story means we don't need it. We this is our life. That's I'm telling you the story, how communicate. And then we need a coherent story though, like it makes sense. But then right brain stores a lot of just basically the smell, sound, what you saw, So there's a lot of implicit memory in your right side of brain. And the funny thing is, right brain is more connected to your body. So when we're saying it, it's like left brain and right brain. It's not that right brain is better, they rules, and left brain is wrong. No, it's just about the integration. The left and right brain work together in a harmonious way. But since right brain travels faster than left brain slightly.
No, not slightly, like way faster.
So like it's faster than left brain. So then why it rules and cause trouble is like John said, even though your left brain saying that you should not yell at your child when your child did something wrong, you know it. That's not the better way of parenting them. But then when your right brain, let's say, had a memory of seeing your mom and dad always yelling, and then you hated that, you don't want to be like that, at the same time, at the last, like whatever the moment, you were tired, you didn't sleep. Other time you would have not yelled, but then you just had a jet lag. Just that's our life this 3 days. Then you are not able to really follow what your left brain, the information, you know what the truth will say. Just your body connected to that more right brain, and then it just activated and just yell. So that's what I experienced.
To add what you said, the left brain grows through information, the right brain grows through imitation.
Yes, imitation.
So left brain information, right brain imitation. Just another example, anyone who's been like grew up in the school system, or maybe even if you've gone to college, or you've just even read books on relationships, I bet anyone could write down 3 to 5 things that your left brain knows for good communication or good relationships. But what happens when there's stress or tension or tiredness or hungry, angry, lonely, tired, any of those things happen, boom, those things, the left brain goes maybe kind of off the grid per se, and the right brain comes in with what it's been imitating for so long.
Right.
So you can slow it down, you can interact with Jesus, and then kind of the next question has to do with kind of Immanuel Journaling.
Right.
How does sharing your Immanuel Journal help in spiritual growth and transformation? So I think what the question here is, when we kind of slow down, we pray, we do interactive gratitude, we hear God's response, then we go through the sequence of how God sees us and all those steps, write it down, then we read it out loud to either one another or in a group. How does that transform us? That question before is a great segue to this, because it's a real huge integration of, this is linear, it's words, but now we're verbalizing it. So that verbalizing it in the presence of a community of love is the experience of the integration. And I've experienced it, we've experienced it ourselves, and we've seen it in others. When they do that, and they know that this is a community of love, there's frequently, not all the time, but frequently like tears of, oh wow, I didn't know I would tear up at that. So really, the transformation is these hard spots, challenging spots, or parts of myself that I'm afraid, or shame, or disgust, or hopeless. Wow, it's being held together in the presence of God's love and these people who love me and are listening to me. So that is a transformative, integrative, in your brain, in your soul, in the relationships with God present. It's a very powerful experience. And what would you like to add to that, hon?
I think that's it. And I think one of the experience that I had is, so a lot of time when you engage yourself in an Immanuel Journaling, there's a lot of painful, like a small discomfort to really big pain, right? And then as I tell the story, you will see your vocal cord. Like instead of just writing, it's like singing. Like I would really encourage people to just read it in a very slow pace with your emotions in it. So you can see that, of course, it is so different than just reading it inside of you versus you are face to face with another person and then using your vocal cord to sound it out, your thoughts, and it become like a real. It's like there is this the integration between your left brain and the right brain when you are reading it out loud in the presence of other people. And I think the double bonus is when you are reading those things, and you being mirror back. The other people necessarily say much, but they are holding
Yeah.
you in God's presence. They are witnessing to you, so
Yeah.
you are not alone.
Yeah.
So a lot of pains are actually traumas,
Yes.
are result of you being left alone without any help in just even small little thing too big. But when you are retelling that story, obviously already God holds you in that story, so peace is probably already restored. But then that is other people are watching that your pain with great compassion, and that's what humans are missing. We want to be held in the gaze of love and compassion, especially when we are going through some difficult time. So that's one, and then that's why that's transformative. And the number two is, as I hear other people's interaction with God, then my brain paying attention. Oh, that's how God met that person. How God restored their peace.
That's
So
the right brain imitation. We like intuitively are imitating. Oh, they get overwhelmed that way. I do too, or it's similar. Oh, that's how the people of God interact with God, and they become transformed. So it's another form of imitation. And,
right.
And even in the Romans passage where it says, "Weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice," we could be doing both in one small group session, or maybe even within one person's story. And you could be experiencing that. And I think that's how you become a bonded community. And really, like, let's become the kind of people, like the quality of people of God who can weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice. So I was thinking as you were sharing, Hun, you were really good at, for different things. She's like, I'm really kind of stuck on this. I'm challenged. I don't know. She has big questions. And then she would do Immanuel Journaling personally for like 10 days in a row on the same kind of deep topic, and read that to me, read it to a friend. And that's just another way of kind of sharing ways that we've experienced it. And so we are encouraging, if there's something big, this is a practical, transferable way that you can do it. You can share with other people. There's one story that we just met last week at Thrive Track 3. This married couple, whenever they have people come over, the woman is so enthusiastic about it. She's like, okay, before you leave, we have to do Immanuel Journaling. She makes them, she teaches them, they do it. This woman went back to Mexico.
The one that who received it.
Yeah. So they live here in the U.S.
Right.
The woman went to Mexico.
Right.
Then she shared with a community there, and so it just continues to spread and deepen people's connection, attachment, bond with Jesus in love. God's character of love is being revealed to people in this simple practice. So we've been continually hearing stories. It's fantastic. Please share your stories with us. We love to hear them, and it kind of draws more people in to the presence and action of God. So God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.